overall, I don't think that much changed. And I realise that might be controversial to say, but I don't. I think much of it was confirming what we already knew. There have been 2 announcements, hasn't there? There's been the one on Sunday, which has then followed with the 60-page guidance. And then just today, kind of the breaking news about the furlough scheme, which I think most of us in the HR world expected it would be extended. And we'll have to wait and see what that means in terms of subsidy and the ability to do some part-time working. But I think in terms of what it means in communicating is actually, as a business, are there implications for your employees around those announcements or for your clients? And I think it's really important that you start sharing that with them as soon as you can, even if you don't know everything, but what your response as a business to those announcements is. Don't leave them with a gap and not knowing what your thoughts are on it or what it means for them.
I think I've shared before, my team are furloughed at the moment, and every day we have our daily calls where we check in with each other, and it's been really interesting hearing from the team about their thoughts on the announcements as well. And for me, it's always so fascinating what people take from things. So I'm a bit like Nat. I was sort of fairly unsurprised by Boris's announcement. I think it was, to me, pretty much what I would have been anticipating he was going to. I don't think, there isn't a magic wand for this. It's not going to be something that just suddenly there is going to be a big change. But I do think a lot of people were expecting that on Sunday, which I think is really interesting. But for me, what's really important now is just talking to the team. Because if you've got furloughed workers that haven't been hearing anything lately, and they've heard that announcement from, as we've heard today, those people now might be thinking, oh, I'm going to be furloughed till October. And that might not be the case. And it's again about sort of having those conversations with the team, which, making sure they're engaged in all the thought processes and, getting their ideas as well about their thoughts on it.
So yes, I would agree with you, Michelle, about communicating with the team. Some of my team are furloughed and some aren't furloughed. In fact, we've only just started to furlough people because we're in a bit of a lag. And I think there are some businesses who are going into furlough and some businesses who are coming out of furlough. So it is an interesting thing. My team were a bit confused by Boris's announcement. And I think that is the general view, although I do take the view that you do understand that some businesses were prepared for going back to work, but not every business can go back to work because of the cash flow issues. And I think that's why it's so important to talk to your team to make sure they understand what the longer term view is of the business, and also keep talking to your clients. I think it's really easy to talk yourself into a sort of furloughing of your whole business when actually you can still be doing some business and encouraging other people to start the economy with you as well. So I do think it's positive that there is a bit of movement in the economy, and I personally am finding that more businesses coming in, which is looking better for sort of June and July.
Ambiguity is something that's been growing in our economy for some time, even before coronavirus. And as somebody who does organisational development at board level, I've been working for a long time with chief execs and directors about learning to be more comfortable with ambiguity. What we do know is that ambiguity is one of the 3 triggers that psychologists identify that create anxiety. And I think going back to the announcement point on Sunday, I think we've seen that across our society and our own communities with how people responded to what they saw as a vague announcement. I would go back to what I often say, which is, what do you know and what certainty can you give to people? And when you don't know, be honest with them. Everybody, I think, appreciates that it's unknown. We haven't been in this situation before, and it's okay to be honest with your staff and say that. So the example that, Michelle touched on earlier about the announcement saying people will be furloughed until October if they wish, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. But also, as a business owner, I'm not sure I'd be able to say, well, I'll take you off furlough for a month here, I'll put you back on furlough for a month here, because I don't know how the economy is going to go. That in itself is full of ambiguity and it's unpredictable. But what I can do is be honest to my employees and say, I don't know, but I'll continue to communicate with you. I'll continue to share with you if I have to end the furlough, if I have to put you on furlough, and that is the commitment that I can give you, and I'll give you reasonable notice. So it's always where you can be certain, provide it, and where you don't know, be honest. Never ever make it up, because it'll come back and bite you on the bum.
I could totally agree with that. It's really interesting. Years ago, I worked for an organisation, and we used to talk a lot about change agility, and it is that ability to be able to what do you do when you don't know what to do? And there's so much of that going on at the moment, and I think we've talked a lot about it as a team, and we've talked a lot about it to our clients, about providing what certainty you can. And it's really interesting, there isn't a lot of certainty out there, but for instance, we've talked about this, having our daily calls with the team is providing some certainty. They know every day we will be updating each other on what we're doing, and we know that that is some certainty we can create. We've looked at the business and we've planned ahead based on some different scenarios. We don't know what that's going to look like, but we talk about that. We talk about we don't know what it's going to look like, but if this happened, it could look like this. If this happens, it could look like this. And we've got a bit of our own route map for the business. So we know, and the team know, that there will be some decision points that we need to make. And we'll talk about them together, and we'll understand them together based on what we know at that time. But I think, you can create some of your own certainty by looking and planning ahead and thinking about some different scenarios, different ways of looking at things. And engaging the team with that is so important. Then nothing comes as a shock.
Like I've said before, I've loved talking to you. I get great advice from you two. I think you can create certainty by creating a bit of structure, which is what you're saying. And we're having check-ins 3 times a week, which I think is creating a structure for us to have a chat and talk about things. But we're also having a one day of that week where we're having a longer chat of talking about the vision of the business. So I'm trying to create the mindset as a leader of what you want the business to look like in 6-12 months time. And you can move that vision. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in the next month or maybe 2 months, and that is a scary thing. But you can create the structure to make sure that you have got the regular communication with your team, and also create the right conditions for a positive mindset. We're also doing that with our clients, and I've noticed the ones that have that mindset are actually reaping the rewards of that. So the ones that have been going positively through the pandemic are actually seeing the benefits of doing that. And there are people out there who are positive, who do want to spend money on their products, and they are happy to be promoting them. So it's the right thing to do. It comes down to your mindset and your vision. That's my view.
So I think we can always choose how we respond to any given situation. We know that from cognitive behaviour therapy, and we know that from lots of research done around that. So for me, I'm not going to coin it as being in crisis, because that means I'll behave as if I'm in crisis. And that doesn't mean to say I'm belittling what we're going through. It's difficult. But there does come a point where you need to be proactive. And Michelle touched on it in the earlier point about having a plan in place, starting to look at what you can do. And that for me is, I'm already looking at recovery. The businesses that have been prepared this week to go back were those that were planning ahead of the announcement. They weren't waiting for Boris to tell them what to do. They'd already started planning. And I accept they might have had to tweak it, they might have been agile around it, but actually they got on proactively planning it. And I think the other thing I would talk about, that we've talked about as well, is where you get your support from. It can be very lonely at the top. It can be very lonely as a business owner, everything we feel sitting on our shoulders. And I've been really fortunate to be part of a lot of great networks across York during this time, and people offering their time, their knowledge, which has been wonderful. So I know a lot of us are part of the People panel, but there's lots of other great programs and webinars out there, people like Winning Pitch and others. And I think it's really important that you stay proactive around your business and learning more about growth, marketing, people, money, whatever, to really help you come out of this proactive and ready to go.
It's really fascinating, isn't it, what happens when we go in crisis? And you know, I was there certainly. We were saying recently that we pretty much were hit within the week that it happened. Our business took a massive hit because we're in the business of training and development and face-to-face people stuff. So we had a massive hit, and you know, I totally went into tailspin. But I think we've got a responsibility as leaders to get our head out of that at some point. I think, of course, naturally we're going to do that, but we need to lift our head up and get out of crisis and start to then look up and see what's around us. And I think, you know, what you've just said there, Nat, it's about getting that help and support. The people panel that we've been running every day, people have used that to keep abreast of what's going on, to hear what other business leaders are doing, to share ideas, to talk about different thoughts that we've got. And it's so important, I think, at times like this to build those networks and pull on other people, so you can support them and they can support you. When we lift our head out, we kind of need to get our teams with us, lifting their head out as well, and use them. And you know, as you were saying, Rachel, earlier, you know, getting their ideas and thoughts and looking to the future is going to help then move everybody forward and start to move us into recovery.
I totally agree. I don't think we need to come up with all the answers. I think that is one of the things I learned from you two, actually. But yeah, so in my business, we're looking at the training that the staff can do while they're furloughed. So obviously we're in a digital world, and we're a marketing business. So digital marketing is going to be even more important, especially with people working from home and looking for things online. So what skills does your business need that are more digital? There's so many training opportunities out there, so many free things. Like some of them are amazing, from universities, from small businesses, all sorts of things that are really, really valuable. And a lot of my team are enjoying doing them, actually, and having the time to do them. There's also like self-development type things available, and things for leaders, which I found really useful. Some of the business resilient program stuff about pivoting, and just being able to talk to different people in different networks than people I've met before. I've actually met new people while I've been doing this online, which is amazing. I've made more contacts on LinkedIn and more contacts face to face through Zoom calls during this period than I have done for a long time. So I think there is support out there if you are prepared to go and look for it and come out of your rabbit burrow, which actually does feel like you're in when you're having a day sort of doing all your emails and maybe not really talking to anyone, even your team, maybe just the dog or the cat. But yeah, you need to get yourself out of your burrow, talk to different people, just arrange one-to-one coffees and find out how other people are doing if you don't fancy a network call. And if you do join a network call, make sure you know somebody on it already who's going to give you a smile across the Zoom, and then you won't feel quite so alone.
I think one of the things I've been really impressed with over this duration as well, Rachel, just on that, is actually how willing people are to help each other if you ask. But it's only if you ask, you know, people don't know that you might need help. And I think certainly I've seen so much of that. I mean, yesterday I probably had about 4 or 5 phone calls from people asking for help, but it's because people are putting themselves out there and saying, you know, we can help, we can support. So ask for it, but offer it as well. We've all got something to offer at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking it through with another business owner can be the answer, actually, because you just get into your own head if you're not careful. And I do think that people have been very generous with their help and support, and I think that's what we need to feel. The community, the Orc business community, has been really supportive of each other, and I think that's the right thing, and it will have long-lasting effects, not just through the coronavirus pandemic. I'm looking forward to the party afterwards.
Yeah, me too.